24 interracial black and white Hollywood couples you'd never recognize today. In a time when even holding hands in public could spark outrage, these couples chose love anyway. Hollywood has long been shaped by fame, but these interracial black and white romances were shaped by courage. Now here's your challenge. Can you recognize the couple in this vintage photo? He was one of the greatest entertainers of the 1950s. She was a Swedish starlet who risked everything for love. Guess their names? Drop your answer in the comments. And if we missed a legendary couple, let us know. We just might feature them next. This is The Famous People, where true love never hides. Serena Williams and Alexis Ohanian. She is one of the greatest athletes in the history of sports. He is the co-founder of Reddit and a prominent voice in tech innovation. Together, Serena Williams and Alexis Ohanian have become one of the most inspiring and celebrated interracial couples of the 21st century, not just for who they are individually, but for the kind of partnership they've chosen to build together.
Who cheats on their diet the most?
Serena.
Their story began in 2015 at a hotel in Rome. Serena was there for a tournament. Alexis was speaking at a tech conference. In a moment that felt almost like fate, they happened to sit next to each other at breakfast. Serena, famously guarded, initially played it cool. But Alexis, intrigued and respectful, stayed. What began as a casual conversation soon turned into a relationship built on admiration, humor, and shared ambition. They got engaged in December 2016 and welcomed their daughter, Alexis Olympia Ohanian Jr., in September 2017. 2 months later, they married in a star-studded ceremony in New Orleans. But their wedding wasn't just a celebration of love. It was a public testament to a union that crossed cultural boundaries with grace and pride.
Pledging myself to you and our family forever. And I'm so grateful and I'm so in love.
Alexis, a white tech entrepreneur from Brooklyn with Armenian roots, openly embraced Serena's world, one where she has long been a symbol of black excellence, resilience, and transformation. Rather than shrink in her spotlight, he uplifted it. She is the greatest of all time, not just in sports, but as a person, he once said. His actions followed his words. From showing up courtside with their daughter, to stepping back from Reddit to focus on family and advocacy, Alexis has modeled modern partnership. Their relationship has also been an emblem of equality and intentional parenting. Serena has praised Alexis for challenging outdated gender roles, from encouraging her to continue her career to being a hands-on father. "He's not afraid to let me shine," she shared. "He's proud of it." Grace Hightower and Robert De Niro. Few names carry as much cinematic weight as Robert De Niro. From Taxi Driver to Raging Bull to The Godfather Part 2, he defined an era of American film. Yet beyond his on-screen intensity, one of his most enduring real-life roles was as husband to philanthropist and entrepreneur Grace Hightower, a black woman whose grace, strength, and quiet influence balanced his global fame. They met in 1987 at Mr. Chow, an upscale restaurant in London where Grace was working as a hostess. De Niro, already a 2-time Oscar winner, was captivated not just by her beauty, but by her poise and independence. After nearly a decade of dating, they married in 1997 in a private, intimate ceremony. It was De Niro's second marriage, and one of the few high-profile interracial unions in Hollywood at the time. Grace, born in Mississippi and raised in humble beginnings, had built her own identity through work in the airline industry, fashion, and later as a philanthropist. She launched Grace Hightower and Coffees of Rwanda, a socially conscious business supporting economic development in post-genocide Rwanda. She wasn't just De Niro's partner. She was a visionary in her own right. In 1998, the couple welcomed their son, Elliot. They would later also raise a daughter, Helen Grace, via surrogate. Despite a brief separation in 1999 and a highly public custody battle, they reconciled and renewed their vows in 2004. Their second ceremony was attended by the likes of Martin Scorsese and Meryl Streep, reflecting not only their Hollywood stature, but the genuine affection they commanded. Their marriage spanned over 20 years, marked by love, resilience, and shared dedication to family and community. Yet in 2018, news broke that the couple had quietly separated again. While details were sparse, both maintained their public dignity, prioritizing their children and family legacy above all else. Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Dansen.
Oh, I could get lost in that smell. I could just close my eyes and no one would ever find me. I don't mean to be crass, but my sperm has been in your body.
In the early 1990s, Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Dansen became one of the most talked about and polarizing couples in Hollywood. Their relationship wasn't just a love story between two actors. It was a cultural flashpoint, igniting discussions about race, fame, and the limits of public tolerance for interracial romance. By the time they met, both stars were already household names. Whoopi Goldberg had broken barriers in The Color Purple, earned an Oscar for Ghost, and cemented her legacy as one of the most versatile entertainers of her generation. Ted Dansen was the beloved star of Cheers, a charming leading man with a reputation for decency and wit. They met while working together on the 1993 satirical comedy Made in America, and the chemistry between them transcended the screen. Their relationship became public at a time when interracial couples, especially black women and white men, were still met with widespread societal discomfort. While both had previously dated outside their race, their pairing, two A-listers at the top of their careers, provoked intense media coverage, public criticism, and, in some circles, outright outrage. Despite the backlash, Whoopi and Ted were open about their affection. They attended red carpets together and didn't shy away from the attention, even as the scrutiny intensified. One of the most controversial moments came when Ted, during a Friars Club roast of Whoopi in 1993, wore blackface as part of a skit she had reportedly helped write. Though the intention was comedic and satirical, the backlash was swift and harsh, especially from civil rights groups and the public. The incident placed further strain on their relationship and is still debated today in discussions about race, humor, and public accountability. By the end of 1993, the couple had parted ways. Their relationship had lasted about 18 months, but its impact far outlived its duration. Ted returned to a more private personal life and later married actress Mary Steenburgen. Whoopi continued her trailblazing career across film, television, and daytime talk. Halle Berry and Olivier Martinez. When Oscar-winning actress Halle Berry met French actor Olivier Martinez on the set of the romantic thriller Dark Tide in 2010, few knew that their on-screen partnership would soon evolve into one of Hollywood's most closely watched interracial love stories. At the time, Berry was already an icon, having made history in 2002 as the first and still only black woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress.
I mean, the list goes on, but what they really don't know is that I really want you, Conan.
Martinez, known for his roles in Unfaithful Before Night Falls and SWAT, brought European sophistication, charm, and a quiet intensity to every role he touched. Their romance quickly became the subject of global media interest. Berry had been through highly publicized relationships before, including her divorce from singer Eric Benet and custody battles involving her daughter, Nala. But with Martinez, she found something she once thought impossible: peace. "It's another beginning," she said at the time. A chance to do it right. The couple got engaged in early 2012, and on July 13, 2013, they married in an intimate ceremony at the Château de Condé in Valerie, France. Just 3 months later, Halle gave birth to their son, Maceo Robert Martinez, on October 5, 2013. For Barry, becoming a mother again at age 47 was a gift she never expected. "I didn't think it was possible," she shared, "but I was blessed again." Their marriage blended two worlds, Hollywood glamour and European elegance. Martinez, ever private, brought balance to Barry's high-profile life. The two kept a relatively low profile, focusing on their new family and protecting their son from the public spotlight. Their relationship was grounded in mutual respect and a desire for something real amid an industry built on illusion. Unfortunately, their union faced challenges. In October 2015, after 2 years of marriage, they jointly announced their divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The split was handled with dignity and privacy, with both parents committed to co-parenting their son. Grace Jones and Dolph Lundgren.
Footsteps echo on the stone.
The relationship between Grace Jones and Dolph Lundgren wasn't just a romance. It was an explosion of power, beauty, and cultural defiance. In the 1980s, they stood as one of the most visually arresting and unconventional couples in the world. She, a fierce Jamaican-born singer, model, and actress known for breaking every rule in fashion and gender norms. He, a Swedish bodybuilder and chemical engineer turned action star, who would later rise to fame as Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. They met in 1983 at a nightclub in Sydney, Australia, while Grace was touring and Dolph was working as a bodyguard. Instantly captivated by his looks, intellect, and quiet strength, Grace didn't just fall for him, she launched him. She brought him back to New York, introduced him to Andy Warhol, got him into modeling, and ultimately, into the acting world. It was Grace who helped Dolph land his breakout role in the 1985 James Bond film A View to a Kill, where she also starred. Together, they were impossible to ignore. Their contrasting aesthetics, her striking androgyny and Afrofuturism, his chiseled Nordic frame, made them icons of art, fashion, and rebellion. They graced the pages of Playboy, stalked red carpets in matching leather and attitude, and became muses to some of the biggest names in photography and design. But their relationship wasn't just for show. Beneath the glare of flashbulbs was a genuine connection rooted in mutual respect, ambition, and an unspoken understanding of what it meant to live outside societal expectations. They dated for roughly 4 years, during which Dolph's career skyrocketed and Grace continued to dominate music and fashion. But by the late 1980s, the relationship came to an end. Grace later described their breakup with clarity, saying, "I helped him become who he is, but he had to find his own path." Zoe Saldana and Marco Pereago.
Yeah, that's okay.
Are you kidding me?
We just welcomed a new
Did you just
kitten.
ask her if she's comfortable?
Yes.
What does that feel like to be cared for like that? Can I just ask?
Zoe Saldana has long been a force in Hollywood, commanding the screen in mega franchises like Avatar, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Star Trek. Her performances are fierce, layered, and culturally groundbreaking, especially for an Afro-Latina actress in an industry that has often struggled with representation. But one of her most powerful statements came not from a role, but from a decision rooted in love. Marrying Italian artist Marco Pereago, and the unconventional life they've built together. Their relationship became public in early 2013, and by summer, they had quietly wed in London. It wasn't just the speed of their commitment that caught attention. It was Marco's bold decision to take Zoe's last name. In a world still tangled in outdated ideas of masculinity and tradition, Marco Pereago became Marco Pereago Saldana. "I told him, if you use my name, you're going to be emasculated by your community," Zoe recalled, And he said, "Ah, Zoe, I don't give a expletive." Their marriage challenges societal norms on every level. Both fiercely independent, they've chosen to raise their 3 sons, Sai, Bowie, and Zen, as bilingual, bicultural, and gender-conscious children. Zoe has spoken passionately about rejecting the idea of gender-specific parenting, noting that in their household, Dad cooks and Mom fixes things.
Are you sure? Okay. That's it.
Marco, a former professional soccer player turned visual artist, is known for his ethereal paintings and abstract sculptures. Though his style is distinct from Zoe's cinematic world, their artistry connects on a deeper level. They see each other not just as partners in marriage, but as collaborators in raising a family with creativity, balance, and mutual respect. Publicly, they've never been flashy. Privately, they've nurtured a life rooted in equality and trust. Zoe has often praised Marco for encouraging her to be fully herself, saying, "He sees me, not just the celebrity, but the human." Eve and Maximillion Cooper. When Eve Jehan Jeffers, the Grammy-winning rapper and actress from Philadelphia, met Maximillion Cooper, a British entrepreneur and founder of the Gumball 3000 rally, few imagined their paths would lead to one of Hollywood's most enduring interracial love stories. They met in 2010 at the Gumball 3000 event, a high-end, celebrity-fueled car rally that Maximillion had launched in 1999. At the time, Eve was globally known for her hit singles like "Let Me Blow Your Mind" and her breakout acting roles in Barbershop, and her self-titled sitcom Eve. The chemistry was instant. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, Eve being a self-made artist raised in a single-parent household, and Maximillion coming from British aristocracy with ties to the fashion world, their values aligned. They bonded over ambition, creativity, and a shared love for pushing boundaries. For Eve, Maximillion offered something rare: consistency, emotional intelligence, and deep respect. "He's not intimidated by my power," she once said in an interview. "He embraces it." They married on June 14, 2014, in Ibiza, Spain. The wedding was a celebration of culture and unity, attended by friends from across music, fashion, and motorsports. After the marriage, Eve relocated to London and became a stepmother to Maximillion's 4 children from his previous marriage, an experience she has openly discussed with honesty and pride. "It took time, but now I couldn't imagine my life without them," she said.
I got really lucky. Like, they're the sweetest, coolest kids. They're actually here with me, and they're not here, but they're here in LA.
For years, the couple struggled with fertility issues, a journey Eve shared publicly while co-hosting The Talk on CBS. In February 2022, their perseverance was rewarded with the birth of their first child together, a son named Wild Wolf Fife Alexander Summers Cooper. Eve described motherhood as the greatest blessing, especially having her first child at age 43. Their love has transcended racial and cultural expectations. Eve has been candid about the scrutiny she faced for dating a white man, particularly from fans who expected her to marry within her race. But the strength of their relationship silenced criticism. Over a decade later, Eve and Maximillion remain partners in life and business, quietly building a family defined not by skin color, but by loyalty, resilience, and shared joy. Naomi Campbell and Vladislav Duronin. Naomi Campbell, a global fashion icon and one of the first black supermodels to dominate international runways, has always lived in the spotlight. Her presence is commanding, graceful, fierce, and unforgettable. But even someone as radiant as Naomi has moments in her life that unfold far away from cameras. One of those moments was her high-profile relationship with Russian billionaire and real estate magnate Vladislav Duronin. Their romance began in 2008 and spanned nearly 5 years, drawing fascination from both the fashion world and the business elite. Duronin, known for developing luxury properties across Russia and Asia, met Naomi at the Cannes Film Festival, an encounter that would lead to a partnership filled with extravagance, mystery, and undeniable chemistry. As a couple, they were impossible to ignore. From vacationing on private islands to attending global galas and red carpets, Naomi and Vladislav embodied glamour at the highest level. Yet beyond the surface, their connection seemed grounded in mutual ambition. Duronin, often called the Russian Donald Trump, wasn't intimidated by Naomi's stature. He admired it. And Naomi, always protective of her private life, appeared softened by his unwavering presence. One of the most iconic symbols of their relationship was the futuristic mansion Duronin commissioned for Naomi in Moscow, designed by famed architect Zaha Hadid. Shaped like a spaceship and perched in the forest, the home was dubbed Capitol Hill Residence, a gesture of love that fused art, architecture, and legacy. Though Naomi reportedly never moved into the house, its creation became a lasting mark of their time together. The relationship eventually ended in 2013, quietly and without public spectacle. Neither spoke ill of the other. For Naomi, who would go on to embrace motherhood years later, the time with Duronin marked a rare period of openness, stability, and romance on her own terms. Donna Summer and Bruce Sudano. She was the queen of disco. He was the songwriter behind the scenes. Together, Donna Summer and Bruce Sudano created one of music's most enduring and quietly powerful love stories. One built not only on romance but on creativity, faith, and mutual devotion. Donna Summer rose to international fame in the 1970s with genre-defining hits like Last Dance, Hot Stuff, and Bad Girls. Her voice, a blend of gospel soul and disco fire, made her an icon. But offstage, Donna was deeply introspective, spiritual, and grounded, a woman searching not just for success, but for someone who truly understood her. She found that in Bruce Sudano, a Brooklyn-born musician and songwriter who co-founded the band Brooklyn Dreams. Their paths crossed in the music studio, where collaboration sparked something deeper. Bruce co-wrote several of Donna's biggest hits, including the autobiographical anthem, Bad Girls. Their creative chemistry soon grew into something personal, and in 1980 they married. At a time when interracial celebrity marriages were still rare and often misunderstood, Donna and Bruce kept their love sacred and unshaken by public scrutiny. They had 2 daughters together, Brooklyn and Amanda, and Bruce became stepfather to Mimi, Donna's daughter from a previous relationship. Together, they raised their family in Nashville and Connecticut, often away from the Hollywood glare. Donna stepped back from the spotlight in the 90s, choosing to focus on motherhood, faith, and painting, while Bruce continued to write and produce music, always championing his wife's legacy. Their marriage lasted over 3 decades, rare in any industry, but especially in entertainment. Bruce was by Donna's side through career highs, personal challenges, and her private battle with cancer. When Donna passed away in 2012 at age 63, Bruce was left not only with grief, but with the sacred task of preserving her legacy. In the years since her passing, Bruce has honored Donna through music, memoirs, and family. He's spoken movingly about her as both artist and wife, a woman whose greatest performance was not on stage, but in the quiet strength she brought to their shared life. Minnie Ripertton and Richard Rudolph. Before she became a timeless voice on radio waves around the world, Minnie Ripertton was simply a girl from Chicago with an impossibly high vocal range and a dream. Known for her 5-octave soprano and unforgettable whistle register, Minnie became a musical icon with her 1975 hit Lovin' You, a song that wasn't just a chart topper, but a love letter co-written with the man who was the center of her world, Richard Rudolph. Richard, a white Jewish composer and producer from Pittsburgh, met Minnie while working at Chess Records. She was a rising soul singer. He was a gifted songwriter. Their creative synergy was instant. and their personal connection soon followed. In 1972, they married, defying norms of the time as an interracial couple in a still divided America, and welcomed 2 children, Mark and Maya Rudolph, the latter of whom would grow up to become one of the most beloved comedic actresses of her generation.
Smile at him like I'm in a TJ Maxx and a white lady asks me if I work here.
Their marriage wasn't about glitz or fame. It was about deep respect, artistic collaboration, and family. Richard and Minnie co-wrote much of her music, including her most iconic work. Lovin' You, with its soft lullaby tone and heartfelt lyrics, was originally created as a song to put their daughter Maya to sleep. It became an international sensation and a symbol of the love they shared. But their time together would be painfully short. In 1976, at just 29 years old, Minnie was diagnosed with breast cancer. She continued to record and perform, becoming one of the first celebrities to publicly speak about her illness. Richard stood by her through every treatment, every performance, every heartbreak. Despite the grim prognosis, she fought valiantly, recording her final album Minnie in 1979. That same year, on July 12th, she passed away at just 31 years old. Richard was devastated, but he never let her legacy fade. He continued writing, producing, and raising their children with care and reverence for the woman he loved. To this day, he remains the steward of Minnie Riperton's music and memory. Barbara Feltus and Boris Becker. Boris, the German tennis prodigy who became the youngest ever Wimbledon men's singles champion at just 17 in 1985, was already a global sports icon. Barbara Feltus, a German-American model and actress of African-American descent, had a rising career of her own, but it was her relationship with Boris that would break barriers, spark conversations, and redefine visibility for interracial couples in post-Cold War Germany. They married in December 1993, at a time when interracial unions, particularly between black women and white European men, were still met with cultural resistance, even in liberal circles. Rather than shy away from the attention, Barbara and Boris chose to confront it head-on. They famously posed nude together for the cover of Stern magazine in a bold statement of love, unity, and defiance. The image, controversial to some and celebrated by others, became an instant cultural moment. Together they had 2 sons, Noah, born in 1994, and Elias, born in 1999. Barbara brought not only beauty and intellect to their union, but also emotional strength and resilience. In interviews, Boris often credited her with helping him navigate the pressures of international fame. For much of the 1990s, they were seen as Germany's most glamorous couple, a blend of athletic greatness and artistic elegance. But fame came with a cost. Their marriage, while filled with public highs, also endured private strains. In 2001, they divorced amid intense media scrutiny and personal challenges. Despite the split, both remained committed to co-parenting and protecting their children's well-being. Noah Becker would go on to become an artist and DJ, continuing the family's legacy of creativity and cultural fusion. Barbara later moved to the United States and continued her work in design, wellness, and philanthropy. She has maintained her dignity and independence, rarely speaking publicly about the past, but always carrying herself with quiet strength. Thandie Newton and Al Parker. Thandie Newton has long been one of Britain's most acclaimed and fearless actresses. From Beloved and Crash to her Emmy-winning role in Westworld, her performances are known for emotional intensity and moral clarity. But beyond the spotlight, Thandie spent over 2 decades quietly building a marriage with British screenwriter and director Al Parker. A relationship grounded in mutual admiration, creative respect, and family.
Do you mind if I'm on top?
They married in 1998, just as Thandie's career was beginning to rise in Hollywood. All, a gifted writer and later director of films like The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel and Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, had his own growing reputation in the film world. Rather than chase fame as a power couple, they chose a different path. One centered on raising their children and supporting each other's artistry from behind the scenes. For years, Thandie and All were considered one of the entertainment industry's most quietly enduring interracial marriages. Their 3 children, Ripley, Nico, and Booker, were raised in a home filled with creativity, culture, and conversation. Ripley and Nico have since followed in their parents' footsteps, exploring music and acting in their own right. Despite being in the same industry, Thandie and All rarely collaborated professionally. It was a conscious decision, according to Thandie, to protect the sanctity of their marriage from the tensions of creative work. "He lets me fly," she once said, "and I do the same for him."
Ketsumatsu hanashimashou. Dewa katana osame hanashimaoka.
Their relationship wasn't without challenges. Thandie has spoken openly about the pressures of fame, racial identity, and trauma, both personal and professional. Through it all stood by her, an unwavering presence as she redefined her name, reclaimed her voice, and evolved her legacy. In 2022, news broke that the couple had quietly separated after 24 years of marriage. The split was met not with scandal, but with reflection. There was no bitterness, only gratitude. As Thandie said in a rare comment, "Some stories change, but the love remains in different forms." FKA Twigs and Robert Pattinson. Few relationships in modern Hollywood stirred as much fascination, controversy, and reflection as the one between avant-garde artist FKA Twigs and global film star Robert Pattinson. Their worlds, so different in rhythm and reach, collided in 2014, sparking a romance that became both magnetic and misunderstood. Born Talia DeBrett Barnett, FKA Twigs had already earned critical acclaim as a visionary singer, dancer, and director. Her debut album, LP1, captivated music critics with its haunting vocals and genre-defying sound. Meanwhile, Robert Pattinson, fresh off the global success of the Twilight Saga, was actively reshaping his career with roles in independent films, distancing himself from the teen idol image that had once consumed him. Their relationship unfolded publicly, but without performative flair. They were rarely on red carpets, often avoiding paparazzi, and rarely gave interviews about one another. Still, when they appeared together, at fashion shows, festivals, or simply walking hand in hand, the contrast was striking and intentional. A bold black British artist with shaved brows and raw emotion, and a reserved English heartthrob navigating his own quiet reinvention. In 2015, the couple announced their engagement, a move that sent shockwaves through both fandoms. The news wasn't just surprising, it was met with vitriol. FKA Twigs became the target of racist abuse online, particularly from die-hard Twilight fans who couldn't accept Pattinson's relationship with a black woman. "It's relentless," she said in interviews. "It's deeply personal, and it's not just criticism, it's dehumanizing." Through it all, Robert stood by her, refusing to let the hate define their relationship. Their bond, rooted in mutual respect and creative admiration, was quietly radical. They challenged stereotypes of celebrity couples, of race, of who belongs beside a heartthrob and who doesn't. By late 2017, the engagement ended. There was no scandal, no betrayal, just the quiet acknowledgement that their paths were diverging, yet the respect between them endured. Heather Hedley and Brian Musso. Heather Hedley's voice has stirred Broadway stages and global airwaves with its unmatched power and soulful depth. A Tony and Grammy award-winning performer, she is best known for originating the role of Nala in The Lion King, dazzling audiences in Aida, and releasing gospel and R&B albums that touch hearts across generations. Offstage, however, her most enduring and quietly powerful performance has been her marriage to former NFL player Brian Musso, a love story grounded in faith, loyalty, and shared purpose. They met as students at Northwestern University in the 1990s. Heather was pursuing musical theater. Brian, a wide receiver on the football team, came from a family steeped in athletics. His father, Johnny Musso, was an NFL running back. Despite their different worlds, their connection was instant. The bond wasn't built on glitz or status, but on mutual respect and values shaped by Midwestern humility and spiritual grounding. They married in 2003 and chose a life away from Hollywood's spotlight. Heather, originally from Trinidad and raised in Indiana, has often credited Brian for anchoring her amidst the highs and lows of an unpredictable industry. "He lets me be me," she once said, "but he always reminds me who I really am." The couple has 3 children, and their family life is deeply rooted in faith and tradition. Heather has spoken openly about the joy and the chaos of balancing motherhood with her career. "Our house is loud, full of love, and always playing music," she laughed in an interview. Brian, who transitioned into business after retiring from football, has been her constant supporter, often attending performances quietly, away from cameras. While interracial celebrity couples often face public scrutiny, Heather and Brian have thrived privately, choosing authenticity over attention. They rarely appear in tabloids or on social media, yet their relationship has endured for over 2 decades, a testament to quiet strength and shared belief. Garcelle Beauvais and Mike Nylon. Garcelle Beauvais has worn many hats: model, actress, talk show host, and cultural trailblazer. From her breakout role in the Jamie Foxx show to her scene-stealing moments in Coming to America and NYPD Blue, she's built a career defined by charisma, confidence, and grace. But behind the lights of Hollywood was a personal story of love, betrayal, and resilience. Her marriage to talent agent Mike Nylon. They met in the early 2000s, and their relationship quickly deepened. For Garcelle, who had previously been married to producer Daniel Saunders, this new chapter with Nylon offered a sense of stability and partnership. In May 2007, the couple welcomed twin sons, Jax and Jade, after a long and emotional fertility journey. Garcelle described motherhood at 40 as a miracle, and she often credited Mike with being a hands-on, loving father and husband. To the outside world, they appeared as a modern power couple, black actress and white agent, navigating Hollywood's challenges while raising a multiracial family with love. But in 2010, everything changed. Garcelle discovered that Mike had been having a 5-year affair. The betrayal cut deep, not only personally, but publicly. In a moment of raw honesty, she sent a scathing email to his colleagues at Creative Artists Agency, exposing the affair and her heartbreak. The message was later leaked to the press. Despite the chaos that followed, Garcelle chose to face the moment with grace. She filed for divorce and focused on her sons. In the years since, she's been candid about the pain, but also about the lessons. "I thought I had the perfect life," she once said. But sometimes pain wakes you up. What could have ended in bitterness instead became a turning point. Garcelle rebuilt her life, emerging as a co-host on The Real, joining the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and launching her memoir, Love Me As I Am. She speaks openly about co-parenting with Mike, emphasizing that their sons deserve peace, not war. "They need both of us," she said, "so I chose peace for them." Alfre Woodard and Roderick Spencer. Alfre Woodard's career spans over 4 decades, marked by elegance, defiance, and transformative performances. From Cross Creek to 12 Years a Slave, she has portrayed women of strength, vulnerability, and integrity. Off-screen, that same quiet strength defines her long-standing marriage to writer and producer Roderick Spencer. a love story that has quietly endured in an industry not known for lasting partnerships, let alone interracial ones. They married in 1983, at a time when interracial marriages in Hollywood were still relatively rare and often met with scrutiny. But for Alfred and Roderick, what mattered was not the noise around them. It was the bond between them. "We don't try to prove anything," Alfred once said. "We just live our truth." Their marriage has been marked by deep mutual respect, intellectual connection, and shared values. Spencer, a screenwriter, actor, and producer, has often worked behind the scenes, supporting Alfred's public-facing career while pursuing projects of his own. He has also been a vocal advocate for social justice, using his platform to challenge systemic racism and advocate for equity, especially in the arts and education. Together, the couple adopted 2 children, Mavis and Duncan, and have raised them with a commitment to cultural awareness and civic engagement. In 2010, their daughter Mavis represented California as Miss Golden Globe, proudly standing beside her parents as an embodiment of grace, pride, and progress. Despite working in an industry that often magnifies egos and thrives on temporary alliances, Alfred and Roderick have remained grounded. They appear on red carpets together not to perform, but to walk side by side, authentically. Their marriage has never been about headlines. It has been about home. Opal Stone and Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman, widely known for his rugged characters in Hellboy, Sons of Anarchy, and Beauty and the Beast, built a career around playing fearsome men with hidden depth. Off-screen, however, his real-life love story was one of quiet devotion and deep partnership, shared with jewelry designer and fashion entrepreneur Opal Stone. They married on Valentine's Day in 1981, long before Perlman became a recognizable face in Hollywood. At the time, he was a struggling actor, and Opal was establishing herself as a designer with an eye for elegance and individuality. Their journey wasn't born out of fame. It was built through perseverance, loyalty, and a belief in each other's potential. For decades, they walked side by side, long before red carpets and magazine covers took notice. Opal, a black woman with a distinct artistic flair, maintained a life of intentional privacy, preferring to focus on raising their family and growing her own brand in the jewelry world. Her designs reflected a sense of strength and individuality, much like her personal presence. Together, she and Ron raised 2 children, daughter Blake, a producer, and son, Brandon, an actor and comedian. The Perlman family embraced art, culture, and activism, often keeping their values rooted in their creative household more than public spectacle. Their interracial marriage stood as a model of quiet defiance against Hollywood stereotypes. For more than 35 years, Ron and Opal's relationship remained free of scandal, nurtured by mutual admiration and creative respect. Ron frequently spoke of Opal's elegance and strength, often crediting her for grounding him amid the chaos of Hollywood. "I hit the jackpot," he once said. "She was there when no one knew my name." In 2019, the couple quietly separated, and their divorce was finalized in 2021. Though their marriage ended, it did not erase the decades of unity they shared. Their split was handled privately, with both continuing to support their children's creative pursuits. Rutina Wesley and Jacob Fischel. Rutina Wesley, best known for her fierce, grounded performances in True Blood and Queen Sugar, has built a career defined by complexity and authenticity. A Juilliard-trained actress from Las Vegas, she brought strength, vulnerability, and quiet fire to every role she touched. But long before she became a household name, she was part of a love story that began in the heart of New York City, with fellow Juilliard classmate Jacob Fischel. They met while studying acting at one of the most demanding drama schools in the world. Initially, Rutina admitted she didn't like Jacob, but over time, their connection evolved, rooted in shared dreams, long rehearsals, and late-night conversations about art and identity. He was white, Jewish, and reserved. She was black, vibrant, and fiercely independent. And yet, their chemistry was undeniable. They married in 2005, years before Rutina's breakout on True Blood would make her a fan favorite. Throughout the early stages of her rising fame, Jacob stood by her side, not as a celebrity, but as a partner who understood the grind and sacrifice of pursuing the craft. Their marriage was private, rarely making headlines, but their foundation seemed solid: mutual respect, artistic passion, and deep emotional trust. However, by 2013, after 8 years of marriage, Rutina filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The split was quiet, amicable, and deeply personal. No drama, no accusations, no media storm. Just two people who had grown apart as their lives and careers moved in different directions. In later interviews, Rutina hinted at how the pressures of Hollywood and her own journey of self-discovery shaped her personal life. After the divorce, she embraced new relationships, most publicly with a woman, marking a new chapter in her identity and visibility as part of the LGBTQ+ community. Steve Nash and Brittany Richardson. Steve Nash, a two-time NBA MVP and one of the greatest point guards in basketball history, spent his career orchestrating plays with vision, precision, and grace. Off the court, however, his personal life experienced challenges that quietly unfolded behind headlines, until he found renewed peace and purpose through his relationship with filmmaker and wellness advocate Brittany Richardson. After his high-profile divorce from Alejandra Amarilla in 2011, Steve found himself at a turning point. The end of his first marriage was both personal and public, marked by intense media scrutiny. For years, he remained focused on co-parenting his 3 children and transitioning from player to coach. During this period of reinvention, he met Brittany Richardson, a creative soul with a deep passion for mindfulness, storytelling, and conscious living. Their connection was quiet, but deeply rooted. Brittany, a black woman with a background in film and wellness, brought a fresh perspective into Steve's world. Known for her advocacy in mental health and her support for creative community spaces, Brittany offered a kind of healing energy that mirrored Steve's own post-retirement search for balance. Together, they built a life anchored not in publicity, but in peace. While the couple has kept their relationship mostly private, those close to them have noted the visible shift in Steve's demeanor, a renewed calm, a grounded presence, and a new appreciation for life outside the hardwood. They've been seen at family events, retreats, and charitable functions, supporting causes that reflect their shared values. In 2021, they quietly welcomed their first child together, expanding Steve's family and deepening their bond. Though they have avoided the spotlight, Brittany's influence in his life is clear. Steve, now coaching in the NBA and mentoring young players, often speaks about the importance of perspective, humility, and inner growth, values Brittany has long embodied. Stephanie Washington and Bret Hart. Bret, the Hitman Hart, is a name etched into wrestling history. A 5-time WWF champion, Olympic-caliber technical wrestler, and a member of the legendary Hart family dynasty. Known for his unmatched precision in the ring and his soft-spoken dignity outside it, Bret built a reputation on honor, endurance, and loyalty. In his personal life, those same values found expression in his marriage to Stephanie Washington, a woman 22 years his junior who entered his world not through sports or spectacle, but through sincerity and shared respect. They met in the late 2000s, at a time when Bret had already weathered immense personal challenges. He had survived a debilitating stroke in 2002, endured the tragic loss of his brother Owen Hart, and come through a difficult divorce. Stephanie, a black woman with a passion for history and social causes, brought something different to Bret's life: calm, warmth, and the quiet promise of new beginnings. In 2010, they married in a private ceremony in Calgary, Canada, surrounded by close friends and family. From the beginning, their relationship faced criticism, not just for the age gap, but for stepping outside of what fans had expected from Bret Hart's personal life. But they both chose to rise above judgment. Stephanie embraced Bret's world, the wrestling community, the intense travel schedule, and the weight of his legacy, while remaining firmly grounded in her own. Far from a public spectacle, their marriage has been defined by mutual support and shared values. Bret has often credited Stephanie for helping him recover physically and emotionally from the scars of wrestling and life. She, in turn, has accompanied him to countless Hall of Fame inductions, charitable appearances, and fan events, not as a celebrity, but as his partner. Marsha Hunt and Mick Jagger. Before interracial relationships were widely accepted or even safe, Marsha Hunt and Mick Jagger shared a connection that was as passionate as it was pioneering. Their love story unfolded during one of the most turbulent yet transformative decades of the 20th century, the late 1960s. At the time, Jagger was the face of rock and roll rebellion as the frontman of the Rolling Stones. Marsha Hunt, an African-American actress, singer, and model, was making waves in London's underground art and music scene, defying racial and gender norms with every step. They met in 1969 when Marsha was approached to appear in a publicity photo for the Stones' Honky Tonk Women. She declined, but she captured Mick's attention. What followed was an intense, short-lived romance that would spark tabloid intrigue, artistic inspiration, and even musical legend. Marsha became the muse for one of the band's most iconic and controversial songs, Brown Sugar, which she later confirmed was written about their relationship. Their connection was creative, electric, and complex. It wasn't just about love, it was about identity, defiance, and cultural collision. Marsha, with her natural afro, commanding intellect, and unapologetic blackness, was unlike anyone Mick had ever dated. And for Marsha, the relationship brought both visibility and vulnerability. Their pairing challenged not just the conventions of celebrity, but the deeply ingrained social norms surrounding interracial love in Britain and beyond. In November 1970, Marsha gave birth to their daughter, Karis Jagger, who would remain largely out of the public eye for years. Though Mick initially distanced himself from fatherhood, he later accepted Karis into his life, and today she is recognized as his first child. Marsha, however, raised Karis independently for much of her early life, embodying strength and resilience at a time when black single mothers received little support, especially in the public spotlight. Love doesn't always follow the rules, and these iconic couples proved it. From quiet devotion to public triumph, their stories redefined what love looks like across race and fame. If we missed a detail or got something wrong, feel free to kindly let us know. We're always working to improve. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to subscribe to The Famous People for more stories that truly matter.